Hey everyone, what's going on? I wasn't sure if we were live there or not. Welcome to Swiping Stories. This is Kindu's. I'm Amy Romero, and I'll introduce you to the rest of the folks here. But this is Kindu's live stream. We have a monthly live stream where we introduce influencers and or brands, and we bring them together to swipe swap stories. So welcome, and before I introduce our lovely guest, I want to just kick it over to my partner in crime, Julia, who will also be joining us. So Julia.
Hi everyone, I'm Julia. I'm a sales and marketing specialist for Kindu. Really excited about our second episode and can't wait to see what we have in store. I'll be posting links throughout in the chat, and if anyone has any questions, feel free to throw them in there and we'll try to answer as many as we can.
Yes, and you can do it. So Kindu, by the way, shameless plug before I go into our featured guest, is a tech company. We're a data platform that helps brands and influencers with vetting, tracking attribution, and building a brand community. So if you are a brand, sign up for a demo. And if you are an influencer joining us, please sign up and hear more about our community. So without further ado, please welcome, hello Tefi, Estefania, to our show. Yay! So amazing. So welcome, Estefania. So for those who might not know, have been living under a stone, Estefania was just voted by New York Post one of the top 10 entertaining TikTok channels or profiles out there. She just hit the 500,000 mark. Woo! She is a writer. She is an amazing content creator. She's on Instagram. She is a pop culture comedian, and she is just amazing. I'll tell you how I know Estefania personally in a moment, but I wanted to just welcome you. Hello. Thank you. I will, flowers and all that will come afterwards as my...
Yeah, go. They're going to say it's live from New York. It's Thursday, but missed opportunity. It's fine. We'll do it on the next one.
So I met. I think everyone wants to hear how you started. Kindu, just to go back on those shameless plugs for a moment, has a staple product called the Kyndex, and that's like a credit report for influencers of how authentic they are. Estefania was the first influencer to ever score perfect, and that's because her channel has all real followers, all organic, never bought. She actually just skyrocketed this past year and really became like a household name, if you will. So when I met Estefania, I was leading up marketing for this company. They won't give a shameless plug. And we were looking for a social media manager. And in comes Estefania. And she, fashionista. She's like has an outfit that I think was the pants were hospital scrubs. The top might have been a tank top with heels and a bunch of necklaces, and then a black bomber jacket with the orange inside. And I'm like, all right, well, obviously you got to keep your finger on the pulse here. Like, I am like feeling so old, but she also then had, so of course I check her out and she's stunning. And then she also shows this PowerPoint of all of these insane ideas. So of course, you want to hire her. But I have to say I'm quite proud and think that it was my guidance on best use of hashtags in a corporate B2B world that really, really got you to where you are today. But besides me, tell us, how did it start?
It's absolutely true. I could not do this without you.
Thank you.
I just hear, you in my head. You're a Leo. I'm a Leo moon. I can't explain the bond. Okay. Yeah, I was hired by this company, by you. Amy was to run social media for this company. And it was a great experience for learning what is a brand voice. That was really trying to expand your audience. I call it being the new kid and new school, walking into the cafeteria every day, that really is social media. You're trying to find a table to sit at. Most days I find one, but
stop.
most days. But working at this company really helped me find the difference between my brand voice and my personal voice, you know? So thank you so much, Amy, for everything you've done.
Well, what I think everyone would love to hear beyond like, you know, the corporate and our personal story. But one of the things that I never follow someone who I work with, because I feel like, you know, first off, if I'm getting a text, oh, I have such a bad headache, I don't necessarily want to see on Instagram stories them at the beach. I'm like, I feel like we need to have that boundary. So I never followed Estefania, but everyone in the office would constantly talk about her posts. Did you see them? They're hysterical. So you put yourself out there before really getting noticed and started putting out content. But tell us about like what made you to start putting out, you know, content. I had read that you know, were kind of lonely when you were young, and so you sort of like absorbed yourself in pop culture. So what was your first medium? Oh, it was MySpace, wasn't it? That you
first social media was MySpace.
Yes. That just doesn't make me feel too old. I had a MySpace account.
Remember when it was Friendster, which is
yes.
But when I was working at the company in the marketing team, I just woke up one day and I told myself, I just don't want to play this game anymore that we all play, this like popularity contest and trying to be cool. And I was like, I know that I am not the coolest. I mean, and I think that's pretty cool of me.
Yeah, I do too.
Thank you.
I think you're pretty cool though too, so I have to say so. but I think that's very, very, I mean, you are above your years. Like I feel like some of your references, that's something I've always adored about you, is that you can talk about the Allman Brothers just like you can talk about Ariana Grande in the same way. So I think that's actually pretty amazing.
Definitely way too much time watching VH1 with my mom. Way too. I love the 80s. I love the 70s. I love the 60s and all that. But I think at the time when I first started getting on social media, like really using my Instagram stories and stuff like that, in my mind, I was like, who cares what I say? The only people that follow me are my friends and some coworkers. Like, who's ever going to hear what I have to say? And I just started really overusing my Instagram stories, but mainly about pop culture. So around that time, it's when the rumors about Britney Spears being basically captive by her management team and her family started coming out, and I started quote unquote reporting that. Definitely not during work hours. If anybody, they're lying, but so definitely not from the bathroom. Okay, but I remember I had an acquaintance, like a co-worker of a friend of mine, reached out to me through Instagram, and I had already been like kind of overusing my Instagram stories for like a month at that point. And she reached out to me and she was like, okay, I have a friend that is looking to hire TV hosts for this startup, and they need a pop culture host, and you can't seem to shut the hell up. So I referred you. And I was like, oh, that's amazing. They're like, yeah, they checked out your Instagram stories recently and they loved it. They'd love for you to come in. Can I give them your email? And I said, yeah, of course. So if it wasn't for me just acting a fool and kind of speaking freely instead of trying to be like cool hot girl, we're all trying to be cool hot girl. And the gag is that we already are cool hot girl, you know? Right. So I went to this audition, and I was in this audition with, at the time I didn't think about it. I thought they worked there. But when I got home, I realized that I was sitting with people that I was like auditioning against, but I had never auditioned for a thing in my life, you know? Fine. 8th grade drama. I did get the murderer for the school play, but that's it. That's really it. And
did you get the part?
I got the part. Of course I did.
Go ahead.
They named my character Conchita, and I was like, okay. But
that was Miami.
That was Miami for you in the early 2000s. But for the job, for the TV host, I was surrounded by people who were comics and people who were broadcast journalists, podcasters, like all these things, influencers, people that had kind of been sharing their voice for a while. And I thought to myself, whatever. I mean, I got out of the office for a second. Let me just talk about what I want to talk about. And at the time, they didn't tell me this beforehand. They put a camera in front of me and they put a timer for 15 minutes and they said, go. In front of all the people, in front of these people that I thought
That's it.
they said, go. So I talked about the Met Gala because Harry Styles had just won a lace top and it looked like his entire upper body was all nipple. He just looked like he didn't know where it ended, you know?
Yeah.
And Katy Perry had done me the favor of wearing a hamburger dress. So I remember thinking to myself, how the hell am I going to talk for 15 minutes? And it felt like 5 minutes. I glanced at the clock and it was 14 minutes and 58 seconds. And I was like, I still have so much to talk about. As I was leaving, the people that were working the camera were holding onto their sides, cry laughing. And one of the people that were standing in line, I heard like to go after me. I heard her tell the cameraman, I can't go after her. And I was like, this is what it's like.
No way.
USA, all gold. This is it, right?
That's awesome. See, I never heard this story because all I heard was that, hey, next week's my last day.
Yeah.
I'm out of here. And then it was just like, you just blew up. I mean, the show was a huge, huge success.
It was great. It was great. And then Corona hit and obviously that our investors pulled out, but that show. Also, I wish people could have seen everyone's faces when I told people at our company, I'm leaving, and they said, what job did you get? And I said, my own show. They were like, who are you? And I was like, right. I don't even know.
Yeah.
But that was kind of introduction to being on camera and social media. So that was great.
Well, that's a pretty, though. I mean, people have tried years. And so how long were you posting the pop culture organic content for? How many years or months?
I was posting on my Instagram, like my Instagram stories for about a month.
Wow. That's amazing. So it was the hashtags. How else would they have found you?
The stories, it was just my friends that were seeing it. Acquaintances who are probably talking absolute crap about me.
I was thinking.
Talking about me in the office. But my post-wise, like my actual grid posts weren't getting any views. It was my stories because those are so easily accessible, you know?
Right.
But it was
the content that you put out there is awesome. You know, it's like I was actually even just like I've been watching it as we've been preparing for today, and you really get sucked in. And so many times I'll see other people who have just been introduced to you, and they'll say, "I just wasted the last 2 hours because I just met Hello Tefi," which is awesome because you do really get sucked into your world and what you're talking about. Like, so in terms of like content, I just want to like. It used to be social media content. Oh, it's easy. It's cheap. Let's just talk about brands for a second here. For more than a second. Don't worry, those attending. And so it used to be, okay, we'll just shoot it on the iPhone. It's social media content. And now you're seeing it become a lot more polished. Obviously the iPhone can do a lot more, but how important is that? Like, when do you decide you need to go glitz and glam? I've seen your grid, I've seen your shows, obviously, but there's some very beautiful polished pictures. And then there's some that are more casual in nature.
More casual. Yes, me on absolutely. I think it really depends on what you're capable of providing. I think it's really important to remember that the brand is hiring you and they have seen what you have been posting, and that really is what they are expecting. They reached out to you or your management team or whatever it is, the email in your bio, and they know posting, and that's what they want to see. I think as you work with more brands and you see what other influencers are doing around us, we want to get more camera equipment. But for me, I've never had to use more than an iPhone and ring light. Did Santa Claus bring me the iPhone Pro Max 12? Yes, Santa Claus did bring me that. So
nice.
A big one. But I will say the brands that I talk to, because I don't like to pretend to be like what you and I call the Vanna White influencer.
Right.
I don't want to be polished. I am very much an authentic person. I try to be as authentic as possible. And I think that's what brands are expecting. but more than the brand, my audience. I think if I were to just switch up and become this like lifestyle influencer where everything is clean and polished and the wall behind me is completely white, it would also, one, throw them off, and two, I think it would mess with their trust in me, you know?
Right. Well, I mean, I think the Vanna White influencer is why there can be so many fake influencers. By the way, I keep having to go like this. I feel like I can actually see you more because your eyes keep getting cut off. Yeah, so I was like, I keep being like, oh, I wanted to see her under there. No, now it's worse. Go lift it up so you can see your forehead more. Okay. So, Amy, this was my shot. Okay. This is my framing. What about though, when, so those Vanna White Instagrammers that we know who they are, and they spend a lot of time on these very polished looking shots. And, you know, I mean, influencers is the number one job that people want to have, the number one career that people are looking for. But how do you, and this is really like also for a brand, like make sure that you're not like, oh my God, please don't, you know, like for, you know, like the hashtag Me Too movement. It was just some companies, it felt like they were putting out content that it made you cringe because you just feel like, come on, you know, like this is not who you are. You know, we know this about you. You know, we know who are the executives or what your company stands for. And like, you know, this is not real. You're just doing it because it happens to be appropriate, International Women's Day or something like that. So, and it makes you cringe. Then there's other times, like if you're an influencer, or trying to be really make your mark, and you see a post of someone and it's just a little maybe too sexual or like too propped, you know, that it also makes you kind of cringe, like, oh, come on, she didn't do that. You know, so like but yours never come across like that. So how does a brand or a person, like, how do you know when you're cringy? Like, what are you doing? Like, I think that's a little like, what's an alert or a feeling you get like, I'm too cringy?
There is I think the moment that you pretend to be something that you are not, it's very obvious. It's very obvious. I kind of compare it to when you see people on the red carpet, when an outfit is wearing them. You know when somebody feels good.
Yeah.
And they are wearing that outfit and you're like, oh my God, she's glowing. But you can tell when somebody feels a little eaten up by what they're wearing. Social media can be the same way. So for me, a seamless, something that wasn't cringy, but a very like big pivot was like Tiffany and Co. when they got like A$AP Rocky and Elle Fanning, and they were trying to kind of market to a younger generation, not just people who love like breakfast at Tiffany. You know what I mean?
Right.
Estee Lauder going for Kendall Jenner did not work. It was very cringy.
No,
it just,
absolutely not. Right.
When Estee Lauder, I think of like classic, timeless. I think of like my mom gave me Estee Lauder perfume when I was going to prom. It's something like a little more elevated. And when I think of Kendall Jenner, I think of reality TV and like tabloids and stuff. So those things just didn't feel like each other. And that to me turns me off. It's like if Pantene Pro V wanted to cater to skaters and they made a commercial and they're like, what's up, sub, bro? You'd be like, what is going on?
Right.
Where's this?
Well, yeah, we have an expression. It's called know your audience, you know, like really like, you know, like you got to know who's going to be watching this. You got to know who's going to see it. Right.
Yeah, I think that's a great, I was just going to say, I think that's a great jumping off point for one of the other things that we wanted to talk to you about is like, how do you make sure that your own ad content stays relevant, but also like finding that balance of not being too cringe and also feeling like real, but still pushing a product, you know, especially when people know that ad content is paid.
So there's something that I do. And every time I work with a brand and it is paid, and at the end of the email, you know, they usually say, hey, you have to write hashtag ad, hashtag sponsored.
Mm-hmm.
I like to do personally with my followers because I think I have the advantage that I've only been doing this for a year and it's been really great. Well, 2 years. I can joke and say hashtag ad because your girl is finally getting paid. And if you support me, you'll like that I'm getting a check, you know?
Right.
That the sneakier you try to be, people are going to know it's not stupid. It's kind of say about like kids know, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Followers know, your followers have been following you for a while, especially if you're new. They've been from the beginning. you know. For people who are starting, it might be really, really scary because you're like, oh my God, what if people call me a sellout? Nobody's gonna think you're a sellout,
right?
For wanting to pay your rent. Okay, no one. So there is an authenticity to that, and I think also not only are you helping the brand that you're working with, you know, like they like me enough, we can work together, we mesh, they are one of us, but you're your brand in turn. So your followers like, wow, she always does, or he, whatever, always tells us what's going on. And that has always worked to my benefit. Always.
So you'll talk to a brand and you'll say, I like your brand. Like you don't have to necessarily like everything about the brand to work with them, but you have to make sure that the way you're serving it up, telling the story about it is very authentic. Like, didn't you? Well, I saw your recent one with Fat, you know, Kamora Lee Simmons.
Oh my God.
And that was, I know. That was actually, I felt actually pretty hip, that the fact that I knew people who you were talking with, because I could never sometimes keep up with you. But you were fantastic. It was an open box experience, but you were reacting so real, so upfront, so honest. And it was just, and you probably got a lot of people excited about the content, but it was a really good match, you know. So did you expect that? Were you planning that content? Did you prepare what you did?
No.
Oh.
The trend on TikTok. So that's another thing, right? Like you always have to be, if TikTok is the biggest platform, I'm an internet baby. I'm one of the first, I was a teenager when MySpace happened, right? I am part of that movement, like when social media exploded. I have never seen a platform bigger than TikTok, and I've never seen a platform that's more difficult to try to advertise on with the with the influencing that we are quote unquote used to. You have to be authentic in that way. So there's a trend on TikTok right now where it's show your parents in the 90s, right? So celebrities' kids are using this trend, like Sylvester Stallone's daughters. I didn't know he had so many daughters.
Yes.
But he has 400. And they're all over TikTok. Joe Canseco's daughter, the baseball player. And I saw Aoki Lee Simmons say, these are my parents in the 90s. And I commented and said, not to be dramatic, but I would take a bullet for Kamora Lee Simmons. She is my real. I got a DM on Instagram from an account that said, hi, I'm Kamora Lee Simmons. I get hot flashes.
Oh my God.
Or you don't understand. Her reality show, I got into so much trouble. I recorded her show over a Survivor episode and a Lost episode that was my mother's, because I could not miss her show. I got grounded because I could not watch her show. So I got a DM and they're like, oh, this is Kamora Lee Simmons' assistant. She saw your comment and she would love to send you something. So that's an exciting moment as an influencer.
Wow. Yeah.
That's when being
it also tells influencers, like, reach out, you know, you never know what's going to happen, because on our last episode, someone asked, like, do you reach out to brands ever? I mean, this was very natural, but you did it in a way like, I absolutely am such a fan, and it worked out in your favor. So that's
my rule for content when working with a brand or just for myself, like when I have an idea, my rule, no matter what, or when people ask me, what should I do with this brand? Well, the answer is, what would you want? When you want to find something funny, what is something that you would laugh at? We make it too much about what everybody's going to see and not enough about like what we are, who we're presented to be, or, you know what I mean?
Right.
So to a brand like Baby Fat, they want people to be excited about the rebranding, and I am.
Yeah, no, actually this stuff looks really good. It looks fantastic on you. What if so I want to throw up a poll. I think we're going to have one, but it's about TikTok, because I just read that there's actual TikTok phobia, and I don't know how many people so the poll is just going to be how many people are familiar with it. So please put your votes in. But marketers are nervous about it, you know, and the thing about it is, what's so great about the channel is you don't have to have any followers in order to actually go viral. So what a great way to sort of create awareness about yourself. Like, you know, we always we're always, I mean, this goes for choosing an influencer. This goes for everything. Even like us as a brand, like how many followers do you have? You get so obsessed with that one number, and that's so what it should not be. But TikTok, like some brands have just done it right. It's even like when we were talking before about just like things that make you cringe and versus like, you know, you feel good about. Martha Stewart and Snoop Dogg was a really great marriage, I thought. Did you not?
Best.
I thought they were great. Who would have thought that? And so everyone wants those moments of like, brilliant. Like who was sitting in the room and they said, what about Snoop Dogg? Like, who?
Yeah. I think it's a great segue to some of the questions that we've gotten in the chat. Somebody asked, what is your advice for brands trying to find their comedic language, maybe just their voice overall? Like, how do you recommend that they get started, like understanding the space? Because like you said, TikTok is very different than other platforms and has so much potential to blow up. I guess a segue of that question as well is, why do you think that TikTok is so different and so successful?
I would say that TikTok is so different, so successful because it's kind of like the same thing with Vine. Vine was 6 seconds. There is this like challenge to connect and be funny in a minute. And so when TikTok first started, when I first started getting on TikTok, it was mainly like for like armed forces, like a lot of police officers, soldiers, excuse me. And the Navy, you know, it was more of that. And then slowly it started getting to like Gen Z and like preteens, whatever. I started recognizing that I need to be on this app because on Instagram and on Twitter, everything that was being reposted by these like huge meme accounts were just TikTok videos. And we see everything is just from TikTok. And what Amy said also is on Instagram and on Twitter, you have to kind of follow the person to see their content, or they have to be retweeted in some way, right? They have to be shared. On TikTok, the algorithm is constantly learning what you like. So if I like one video about Mariah Carey, one video about turkey wraps that I ate for lunch, and another video about lip gloss, they will show me all those videos, and they will also show me videos of people who like those same things and what they are liking. So it's this curated thing, and the AI is constantly learning.
Right.
I've never seen it customized before for me, you know?
Mm-hmm.
So
no,
so
I mean, that's, sorry, go ahead. Yeah.
Would you recommend then for brands, as like a strategy, just like going through and having the algorithm really show them best practices, or like, how would you suggest? Because like Amy said, a lot of marketers are intimidated by really getting a jump on the platform. So maybe what some first steps would be for them? So
I'm going to answer this in the way. Okay. So I have friends that have seen, and I have a point, just give me a second. I've had some friends that have seen me gain traction with TikTok, and they ask me similar things. And I've had friends tell me they're like, okay, so I got my super expensive camera, and I got my backdrop, and I got all my, I finally have like my that I want to talk about. And I have all of my animations, and TikTok is the app for authenticity. I know that authenticity might be a buzzword, but there's nothing, transparency.
Mm-hmm.
Viral TikToks that I've done, when I tell you I am in my Bone Thugs and Harmony sleepy pajama t-shirt, and anything that feels like a performance comes off just as that. So if I were a brand, I would say the same thing. Relax a little bit. People just want to connect. They don't want to feel like an audience. They want to feel like they already know you. So when it comes to trying to find your comedic language, you need to be on these apps and see what is trending. There's a picture every day on Twitter, and we hope to God that we aren't it. Right? That's Twitter. Twitter's a whole. Instagram, there are memes constantly being shared. There are, I think Instagram is more pop culture based too. And on TikTok, there are music trends constantly happening, holidays, things that are happening quarterly, like if Fashion Week is coming, you have to keep up with these things. And that is something to do with TikTok. TikTok is evolving, and there's so much content that in order for you to be seen, you really have to keep up with that. You have to have at least 3 to 10 videos a day for an influencer. And if you have to keep updating that as well.
So you do have to commit to it.
You do.
Yeah.
You do.
So what about, I'm just curious, what about Clubhouse? What are your thoughts on that and for brands? And then we'll go back to TikTok, but I just was curious, have you done anything on Clubhouse yet?
I think that as an influencer, like, and that I just like when my brother tells people he tells others that his sister's an influencer, it just feels weird because I'm still very much like myself, but it is what it is. I am a person that is professionally herself, and that's what it is.
That's a great job.
Thank you.
But so what are some of the brands that you've worked on then on TikTok, or any of them that you felt like really worked, or that TikTok was the perfect channel? Because I just, we've covered, a lot of people hear about authenticity, and it's amazing to me how many marketers are actually not on the channel. So I think that's great advice, is like, get on the channel and just, see what's trending there for a while, like what dances are moving, what songs are trending. And it's for all of the channels, like what industries would do well in it. And you start getting more and more of a sense, but get on them before you start choosing someone for them. But I just am curious of like, what brands have you worked with that you've been on, like multiple channels, but specifically one that really worked for TikTok?
I think for TikTok, Afterpay and this app called Fast AF, I think people really took to. Afterpay, I mean, hello, we're in a pandemic,
right?
And Afterpay 4 installments at the course of, like you pay every 2 weeks 4 times, and you only get like any kind of fees if you're late, and I can buy whatever I want, and we're not getting, people are not working the same, and we still want to keep up, and we want to have nice things. So for me, I did 2 videos for them. One of them was I'm literally grabbing things that I bought on Afterpay and throwing them behind me, showing people. And I'm not somebody swimming on a yacht with Beyonce right now. I'm a normal person.
Right.
That's one thing. I'm actually showing people the things that I have bought with Afterpay. I'm a big Afterpay girl, And then one, they wanted me to go to the city. I live in Brooklyn. They wanted me to go to the city, and they wanted me to take a scan of a QR code that they had throughout the city, right? And while I was there, it started pouring, raining, and there was I couldn't find any kind of shelter. And I used the video, and I loved it. And on the car ride home, I'm like looking out the window and I'm touching the glass. And those are like real moments from a real person who uses Afterpay, right?
Right. And
then for Fast AF, it's this incredible app. I love this app. I thought it was going to be like Postmates, actually like really, really nice stuff. They can get you whatever you order in 2 hours or less, no matter what.
Right.
And they have shade rollers. They have vitamin C serum, moisturizer. It's like a Whole Foods in there too.
Right.
For me personally, especially, we live in a lot of dead zones. I grew up going to CVS. I want to be buried in a CVS. I love CVS. It's like my Target. Don't get me started. Target is.
I love CVS too.
So Fast AF for me is so easily accessible, and I run out of something, and also going outside anymore. I call my Brooklyn cage. Fast AF is perfect for me and my friends, and I made the ad. Because I was moving, I made my background like I was at Hogwarts. Because if there's one thing that I know, it's that us millennials love us some Hagrid and some Hogwarts.
Yes. Yeah.
Those are things, and I really do love Fast AF, and I use it all the time, right? So those are 2 ads that I feel like I could really connect with because I actually use them, and I can see other people using them,
Have they but when a brand wants to, a brand has to check off the box on certain marketing things they do, like, so I need to say this, we still have our job and we have to prove the ROI and we have to do all that and report up to the board, if you will, to tell them, oh, this worked, and so we're becoming very sophisticated with that. But, so we're like, please, could you make sure you mention this? And, unprecedented speed and scale and speed and blah, blah, blah. Like, all those little things, like, how, like, and it's just not working. It's just not working for you. But you know what? Just to your point of view said before, you got to pay the bills now, and so, you can't just rely on Santa. So you have to, like work it, obviously. You want to work with the brand, but it's really not a fit, so what do you do then? What do you do with those type of ones where they're trying to make you say so much, Or has it never happened because you've just always managed to be like, like, have you had a positive experience? So share with us, like, positive, negative, the good, the bad, the ugly on those.
On like when I work with brands.
With
like
a brand that, like, even maybe it's a tampon brand, like that you're just like, I don't want to really do this, this type of, like, what are they asking me to do? It's uncomfortable. I don't want to do it. So you obviously have to pitch people ideas, or do they literally let you, like, it sounds like those two examples that you just gave, they let you sort of do your own thing and it just worked out great. And that's what people do most of the time. But unfortunately, we know we have to check off the box for a certain amount of things. We have to make sure we, say those things like behind the drive or whatever it might be. So how do you, like, keep me happy? And then, and then yet, because I'm not going to get past the fact that I have my ROI. So, and like, keep you authentic. So you must have to often, I mean, you as an influencer, every influencer today, they have a sales team, they have the creative team, they have the art director, they're everything. It's really become like a huge role. But so give us an example of where someone has asked you to do X, Y, and Z, and then you flipped it maybe.
So I'm going to say the story, but I'm not going to say any brands because I know what you're talking about. But there is a brand that sells feminine products, and they asked me to be on it. And I see Sarah Wren's question, and I think you'll get an answer. So I agreed to this campaign. It's a brand that, I'm very familiar with, and it's a dream. However, when I agreed, they were like, cool, we're going to send you a box of stuff that we would like you to use in this post. And I said, amazing. And I got the box and I opened it, and the first thing I see is the product, and then food coloring and a little string, and they want me to do, and I'm not going to do it.
Oh, God. No, I'm getting cringy.
Oh my!
I'm getting all hot in here. I have a hot flash. So what'd you do?
We've all been in situations where we're like, okay, we got to get out of this unscathed, but we still want to get paid. We still want to have a great relationship with this brand. Small. You want to build relationships, okay? So something that I had to sit down and I was like, okay, at the end of the day, this brand wants to work with me, and me would not do this. So what is something that I would do and that they would be happy with? So I came back to the brand and I said, what if I weirdly, I already have a lab coat and goggles in my closet, because on the Tefi show, whenever I talked about astrology, I said, let's get into the science. So I already have like a mad scientist thing. And I was like, Bill Nye for feminine products. And I showed people in a casual way how to use them, because I know as a woman, and I read online and all these articles, that many people don't know how to use these products. And while we think it's automatic, like, oh, duh, to a lot of people, it's not. People don't have the same exposure and like, education, et cetera, than we do, right? So I sat down with them and I was like, I promise you, if you let me, please try this. I think I'll kill it, and I'll do a way better job than what people have been doing with the food dye and the pouring and the dipping that we've been seeing for 30 years.
Right.
So if you have that conversation, you're honest with the brand, and they want to work with you, it's totally fine. In fact, they might love that you have creative input. A lot of the times brands are just like, just do this.
I'm sure, especially from you. Yeah, I'm sure. That's good. So you just worked with them then, and you just gave them those type of things. So talk to me about like a big mistake that a brand would be, and how you just need to own it up. I think you've referred to it as the $50,000 mistake.
I have
like when a brand just makes a mistake. All right, I messed up. I should have not, put those two together.
One of my very best friends works for a $1 billion makeup brand, and somebody on the team is not very familiar with social media, doesn't use it, but has a lot of input on what the marketing team does. We all know. I mean, we all have those people when we work at corporate offices, right? This person was really pushing for this pageant queen to be the face of this new product that they were pushing out, right?
Right.
the marketing team was looking back and saying, we don't think it's a fit. And to be honest, we don't think that her engagement is real. We don't think so.
Mm-hmm.
And the person in charge was like, no, we have to. And they said, fine, you know, like, you're the boss.
Right.
They paid this person, this influencer, this pageant queen, like $50,000 for a swipe up link in her Instagram stories. And only 3 people out of her millions of followers, quote unquote, millions of followers, bought ballots. So it was a huge loss for them. And they were pushing for using what we call like micro influencers, people less than 100,000 followers, because those people tend to be higher, you know, and they have more real followers, you know.
Right.
That was a big mistake, a big lesson they learned. I don't know if he learned, but you know.
Yeah. What were you going to say, Julia? You are you familiar with this brand? Oh, your audio's off.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, perfect.
This is a typical, like, can you hear me? Sorry. Go ahead. Yeah. Press the button.
It's authentic.
Press the button.
I was just going to say that I think that's a great point, you know, because another mistake that brands often make that we find in our own evaluation of influencers is not really knowing not only how many followers are real or fake, but really where those followers are even located. Like, you'll have these major influencers and celebrity personalities, you know, like recently we pulled Chrissy Teigen's report, and only 9% of her followers are actually in the United States. And so it really makes you wonder how these brands don't know where these people are, because how are they going to buy the products if they're not even available in their own country? So I think that's a great point that you bring up.
Yeah, there's a lot of, we might see people, like, for example, for me, if I saw that Ariana Grande was promoting a product, I would think, oh my God, that's in front of millions and millions and millions of people. She must be killing it. But the reality is, you know, that I've read online, is that 48% of her followers aren't real.
Mm-hmm.
And if followers aren't real, what percentage of those are even in the US? What percentage of those are people who would buy this product? Like, if the product,
and it becomes like, I know that, you know, there's the fake influencers, but, you know, it also becomes just about the effectiveness. You know, how effective are you? You know, that, you know, so when you're choosing an influencer, they may have a huge millions of numbers. And even if their numbers are in the millions, and you find out 50% of them are not in the US, well, then okay, well, the other million are in the US. You could think of it like that. However, they're not being very effective. You know, their audiences aren't engaged. And there's 2 things that I've heard about with this. Well, one, with Instagram, the followers may be a lot, but they've been there for a long time. And so they've actually just moved on to someone else, but they haven't defollowed you. And so they're not nearly as engaged. Whereas in YouTube and TikTok, I believe, I could be wrong on the TikTok one, I'd love to hear your thoughts on this, is they are, in fact, like, I know with YouTube, those are loyal followers, because it just takes so much time and content. They're following them for different reasons than they are usually for Instagram. TikTok, it seems like you can get a lot of followers pretty quickly. And then the loyalty is like, you know, how's the loyalty there?
I think that because unfollowing, I feel like, is very common on like Instagram and on YouTube and Twitter, but not so much on TikTok. I think it's because only the really popular videos get on the For You page, or unless that person is interacting with you a lot, right? And so mainly works like the stories, like on Instagram, where you interact with the most are kind of like the stories that you see all the time,
right?
About, you know, and what was your second question? I feel like I'm going to read like questions and your question.
Oh, where are we standing with that? All right, I'm sorry. I'll turn it over to Julia. I just wanted to. I know you're working on impressions with your mom. Have you worked on any more impressions? Like, did you want to show us like a recent impression of your mom? Have you fixed that a little bit? Yeah.
Mom is that she is a Colombian Scorpio, and she was not the kind of mom. She's never yelled at me, and something more terrifying. She goes lower.
We love a Scorpio.
Oh, it's very so, and she's a woman of few words, but at the same time, a nudge from her is like a novel. So her is more energetically transferred than facial. So that's something that I really need to study, because there have been many times when I ask her, how do I look? And she looks at me and I look at her and I say, I will change right now. You're so right. And that's it. So I will be, as I perfect that impression, I will let you know.
All right. Definitely. Well, you know what? We'll follow you. And also you're a host on InStyle now.
I do.
So with astrology, right? Is it the astrology? Yeah.
The magazine. So that's something else. I saw somebody ask about trends. There are, of course, trends that are happening all the time, but there are some trends that are pretty consistent. Like right now, a big trend is Y2K. So on InStyle, I will never forget when a girl reached out to me and she emailed me. She goes, is it true that you saw Mean Girls in theaters? And I was like, why is she saying that? Like it was Casablanca. I was, yes, I was 14. So Y2K is a big trend right now that people are building on, like the Paris, Lindsay, and Britney Spears era, you know, Christina Aguilera, right, all that. But there's two sides to that. You can talk about how great the aesthetic was, but also how toxic that culture was. And you can talk about there's a lot to talk about with that. But then there's something else like astrology that's been since what, like the 60s, when it started getting into newspapers. So in InStyle, my job is to kind of dip into astrology and dip into like women's health and dip into fads and trends and fashion style stuff, and to touch on things that are popular like Y2K that I am grateful I was alive for, which people can't believe. But yes, I was there and I saw it with my own two eyes. So that's InStyle was an opportunity that they found me via TikTok, because I chose to talk about the things that I knew, and what I know is that Paris Hilton is an Aquarius, you know.
And what's Britney Spears? Do you know that?
Yes, Brad Pitt's.
Of course, she knows.
Yeah, because that actually goes into just keeping content. One, we know. All right, so TikTok, your advice, like, and I want to give it over to Julia for asking some questions, but your advice on TikTok though is check it out first. You know, like go in there and like there is absolutely opportunities out there that for brands. And I mean, I think that people need to just start thinking in a different way. Like InStyle, really focusing on astrology with you is definitely talking to their audience. They're going to be interested in that. So, you know, so I think that that's obviously, and then, you know, congratulations on your engagement, you know, so that a brand right now, this is something that's part of your life. So I think that a brand working with an influencer who may be known as a pop culture comedian, all of a sudden just got engaged. Wow, what a great opportunity to collaborate with her. So I think that brands also need to really be on the lookout for those moments in time that are huge for an influencer, and they should jump in on that. Have you gotten a lot of offers for your fiance? For being engaged? Not for your fiance, excuse me. Freudian slip.
Oopsies. A lot of people have reached out. People love themselves some love. People love seeing people in love. It's crazy to me. People love seeing people that they support in love. I didn't think that people would be so happy for me, but I will say, I mean, of course I did, but you know, I was just like, oh my God. I've only been thinking about that moment since I was like 3 years old, so it's not a big deal. But for a brand too, something I wanted to say about TikTok that I keep forgetting to say is I think it's worth the investment, because while every social media is kind of like a country, you know, like Instagram's more of like portfolio, Twitter is more about like memes and what's happening, current news and stuff like that. It's also a different country, but there is if you like ceramics, there is ceramic talk. If you like the occult, there is witch talk. If you like cheese, there is cheese talk. There is something for everyone, and the opportunity is there because people are just now starting to figure out how to reach out to people on TikTok. And if you invest in people who are authentic, you might not make a $50,000 mistake.
Right. Absolutely. I think so Julia, please go ahead. I want to ask a question about, if we have time at the end, about just finding that authentic person. But Julia, I'll stop.
Julia,
I think that's a great point that you make because, you know, a lot, like we've
what a
said, a
great
lot of
point.
marketers are intimidated by getting on TikTok. And it's like there really is something for everyone. There's trends, but there's also things like how to market. There's a TikTok for that. There's a TikTok for finding jobs. And so it's like there really is a TikTok for everything. And speaking of trends, one of the great questions we got from the audience is what are your thoughts on shadow banning across TikTok and Instagram, et cetera?
If I could curse, I would. I have been banned so many times. So on TikTok, the community guidelines are pretty insane. The community guidelines are there to hold people accountable and for safety, et cetera, et cetera. But I am someone, I speak the way that I speak. And right now I have my very nice presentation voice on, but I do crazy. I do use bad. I'm 30 years old. I'm allowed to say an F word here and there. And that's just who I am, you know, and I don't think that a PBS is going to be reaching out, and that's okay. That's okay with me. So the community guidelines will pick up once the AI is on you and it picks up that maybe even if it's like a very tiny bikini, like it depends, it really depends. Maybe you're talking about things politically and it picks up on something like a word. Once the AI, because that's what it is, it's not a there are people that work for TikTok and they come in, but usually it's just this computer just scanning for words. Once the AI sees you, I very much compare it to like Minority Report. You're going to be hassled for at least like a week to 2 weeks. Once that 2 weeks is over, you can kind of start over. But from then on, you are going to kind of always be shadow banned. And that's kind of where the challenge of like organic, if you're not getting on this For You page, you know, you do kind of have to do a little like, hello, my baby. Hello, my darling.
This what page? I'm sorry. What did you just?
Page, it's the explore page, right? Where people on TikTok because they want to see new content all the time. So I do have some tricks and tips for shadow banning because I have Googled it 47 times. I have been shadow banned so many times. And I clear my cache. You have to delete the app and re-download it. If you want to get on the For You page and you feel shadow banned, you can close the app as soon as you post a video because the app is going to want to lure you back. So it'll want to email you saying like, hey, hello, Tefi, you have 237 notifications. Don't you want to check it out? You know, it's constantly learning how to get people on the app. So there are many ways to get shadow banned, but there's also, you know, this underground community that we're always talking about how to get shadow banned.
Yeah.
It's something that I think about. I'm like, I'm glad that it's there because there are a lot of hateful things that people do try to get away with. And that's why the community guidelines are there. So it's just something you have to kind of, if you have to be rude and awful and like crude to be funny, you're not funny. So it's a challenge to be more creative with what you want to say, you know?
Yeah, totally. I also think there's so much around cancel culture. Can you speak a little bit to that and like the struggle of being real and relevant, but not speaking on things that might get you canceled?
I think that canceling is obviously, there are certain people that shouldn't have a platform, right? And those are people that say hateful things.
Definitely.
And people like obviously racism, homophobia, transphobia, these things, anything that makes other people feel unsafe or unwelcome is not okay. But I feel like cancel culture has become to a point, instead of saying, I don't like you, or you make me cringe, or you're such a loser, or whatever, it's let's cancel them. So people have tried to cancel me many times. I don't know why. I feel like I'm a very nice girl. I'm a Cancer, you know.
Very sensitive.
You know, but it's something as simple as I think that holding people accountable is the kindest thing you can do because it means that you believe that the person that you like can do better, right? So with Khloe Kardashian, for example, people tried to cancel me because I said, and I stick by it, how dare she try to play off like she has a new face every week? And I don't think it's fair. I don't think it's fair if you are selling makeup products and fitness products and telling them, this is how I got this result. That's not true.
Right.
You expectations for the people who are following you, as young as they may be. Some of them I've had girls who are 13, 12 DM me and say, I can't post a picture of myself without a filter on. And it's because of these influencers setting beauty standards that they can't even keep up with, right? So saying that obviously really ruffled some Kardashian followers' feathers. And people are like, let's cancel her. She's so hateful. She's a misogynist. So those are things
that's just ridiculous.
It's fine. You're going to run into people who want to figure you out in a minute.
You've said that before, like how people have tags, and like you've said, like that, like instantly when you become an influencer, you get tagged, like that, like, okay, you're this, and we're going to compartmentalize you. And this is how we're going to do it. We're going to just give you all of these tags. Do you recall this conversation?
Yeah.
But that's partially what it is. It's like they're like all of a sudden just assessing you from basically one statement. And here's the thing, you're a comedian. Comedians like have gotten like, that's what they do. They sometimes can be a little like, push the boundaries a little bit. They're getting a laugh, it's not to hurt someone's life. Of course you can be very insensitive with some of the material you say. You're making a joke. And it's like, and people, I just think that there's a bit of a sensitivity issue there.
There is a sensitivity issue.
It's gotten there are some parts of the corners of the internet where, yes, it can be ridiculous, but it's a sensitivity that is there. So if you want to play the game, you have to play ball, and you have to know that is a possibility. So with cancel culture and all of this, I like to tell people that I don't like the word niche. I'm a human being. I'm not a niche. I'm many, many things, and there's two. And because I feel like if you, for example, if I only talked about like music licensing, this company that does feminine products reach out to me. I like to talk about everything. Right.
Even if I am a woman, I'm going to use this feminine product. You know what I mean? So
right.
Be as much of yourself as possible. However, you don't have to share everything. You can still, there are some things in my life that I will never, ever talk about. I'm happy to talk about my engagement, but maybe not so much like my actual relationship issues as we all have, I have a real perfect relationship. Please don't spread that. I think people do. But as long as you have boundaries and you're able to talk about the things that interest you, people can tell when you're not interested or when too. So as long as you can be authentic and and you're excited and you're personable or whatever, and you're not being hateful, it's going to be okay.
Right.
Yeah. Speaking of authenticity, while we still have a couple minutes, we've gotten a couple questions about, is there a right number of posts that you can post for a brand before your audience doesn't really engage as much? Like, is there a golden number of what kind of content they should expect from you and the number of posts?
This is what I like to do one TikTok post, because a TikTok video will circulate for 40 days. So in the first 2 days, it might get like 800 views, but in 15 days, it might get 80,000 views. So one for me, I like to do, and then I like to do one grid post on Instagram and then one story, or 2 stories spread out by a week, and both of those live on my highlights for 2 weeks. That to me, I have found to be the most effective.
Well, that's actually a great point about TikTok. It's the shelf life of the content that's so great. So we measure how long content lasts on someone's grid, on their YouTube channel, and that's a very good point, that the TikTok content actually has the longest shelf life, where Instagram, you're just kind of boop, 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 boop. And some people, though, you do really get buried in, like your content, you do get kind of buried in there and want to see something else, but others, it's like, especially the Vanna Whites, you see it, no, you move on. You just go to the next one, where it's like the type of content. But that's a very good point about TikTok content. You get so much more bang for your buck. That's true. And the authenticity is affordable, as you said. What's another question? Shoot.
Well, this isn't a question, but I just wanted to say, like, while we still have some time, like, I follow you. I'm a huge fan. And I just wanted to say, I love how authentic you are. I think you bring up a great point about the Kardashians constantly having a new look and girls being able to look up to something that's not that standard. Because, like you said, I also grew up with the Instagram and social media, and it can be really toxic and it can be really difficult to see yourself compared to these unrealistic standards. So I really appreciate it. And I know a lot of other people do too.
Julia, I'm ready to run away together after that.
Me too. Let's go. A Scorpio and a Cancer ran away. The end.
Wow. I guess I'll step out right now. I'm feeling like I'm in a third date. All right. Well, any other questions that you have, Julia? Otherwise, I do want to ask people to do a few things first. Any other ones? All right. So if you haven't hit the poll, do so. I don't even know if it's still on right now. But if you're not following Hello Tefi, you're missing out. Honestly, she's just like so wonderful. And I'm so glad that I finally was able to start following you. And I'm glad you quit. And you've had so much successes. Be on the watch out for for her TEDx talk that should be coming out soon, and also the astrology with at InStyle
on TikTok. I built that
on TikTok.
So please follow that. Please follow InStyle.
Wait, what'd you say? I'm sorry, I cut you off. What'd you say?
I built that baby from the ground up. It had
yeah.
Please make me look good to my bosses and follow me. Or
absolutely. We're going to support you 100%. We can't thank you enough for your
thank
time.
You so much.
And we are going to do one last shameless plug, and we're going to put on a video. And so, Estefania, I love you to pieces. Julia, I'll see you soon on the next conference call. And check out this video from Kindu. Go ahead.
With just a few clicks of a button, anybody can fake internet fame overnight. Anybody with internet access can spend as little as $10 to buy an entourage of thousands of fake followers on a social media profile. This is a huge issue in the industry, and fake influencers can be hard to spot. The result? Brands will lose $5 billion to fraud in 2021 alone. Brands that have already been duped are losing their belief in influencer marketing, an industry that is on track to be worth up to $15 billion by 2022. On top of making you pay for an audience they don't really have, fake influencers also have the potential to jeopardize your brand image. Getting canceled as a brand in a media frenzy is difficult to come back from. You need to be confident about your image, which is why Kindu offers a 14-point brand safety check on all influencer content. We keep your brand safe from messages promoting divisive language, profanity, adult content, and anything else you don't want associated with your name. We'll also help you find, vet, and meet influencers without charging you until you sign a deal, because we know that brands hire 9 out of 10 influencers that we introduce them to. We also create real-time media kits for all of our influencers because we know that great influencers are small business owners with busy schedules. Through each media kit we create for your influencers, you'll have access to the most accurate and in-depth information about all of their content across every social channel they're on. We don't just know our influencers, we also understand the consumer behavior of their audiences. It may be appealing to pick influencers based on their audience size, but a large audience means nothing if it isn't comprised of your target demographic. Did you know Kindu is the only company to offer audience MSA data and interests at no additional charge to the brand? We are not a creative services agency disguised marketplace, which means you won't pay high retainer fees to work with us. If you want to learn specifically how Kindu can help your brand, request a free demo with us. Remember, you don't pay until you sign a contract, so let us show you what we can do.